whispers of Westwood Manor. The imposing structure of Westwood Manor sat atop the cliffside, overlooking the churning waves of the tempestuous sea below. The manor, although beautiful with its Gothic architecture, had remained vacant for years. Rumors whispered about the mansion's halls echoing with the murmurs of the dead. When Eliza was offered a job to appraise the antiques within the manor, she was hesitant. The pay was substantial, too good to claim, but she had heard the stories. Taking a deep breath, she decided to brave it. Armed with her knowledge of antiques and a flashlight, she entered the creaky front doors. The inside was grander than one could imagine. Priceless paintings, ancient vases, and ornate furniture decorated every room. Eliza felt a shiver run down her spine, not from fear but excitement. This was a gold mine. 3 hours passed. As darkness enveloped the manor, Eliza began to hear soft whispers. They seemed to echo from the walls, getting louder and more frantic. She tried to dismiss them as a product of her overactive imagination, but they persisted. One particular whisper grew clearer, guiding her to the basement. An old record player sat on a dusty table, its needles stuck, playing the same eerie note over and over. Next to it was an album cover with an old black and white photo of a ballroom dance, the participants' eyes eerily white and hollow. Drawn by some unexplainable force, Eliza placed the needle back to the start of the record. A hauntingly beautiful melody filled the room, and with it ghostly figures of men and women appeared dancing gracefully. Overwhelmed, Eliza tried to flee, but her feet wouldn't budge. They started moving on their own accord, guiding her into the dance. The ghostly figures, although serene in appearance, had a malevolent aura, their hollow eyes fixed on her, their cold hands guiding her every move. Hours seemed to pass as the dance continued. Eliza felt drained, her energy sapped with every step. As dawn approached, the apparitions began to vanish. As the last notes of the haunting melody faded, Eliza's strength gave out, and she collapsed. She awoke to sunlight filtering through the dusty windows. The record player sat silently. With great effort, she got up, promising herself she'd leave and never return. But as she tried to climb the stairs out of the basement, she noticed something terrifying. Her reflection on a dusty mirror. Her once bright eyes were now hollow and white. Eliza fled the manor in terror, but she couldn't escape the whispers. Everywhere she went, they followed. Friends and family began to avoid her, claiming her gaze was distant, and her touch unnaturally cold. Desperate, Eliza returned to Westwood Manor. She hoped to find answers and reverse whatever had befallen her. The whispers guided her back to the basement and to the record player. This time she noticed a letter tucked beneath it. It read, "To the next unfortunate soul, dancing is a gift, but also a curse. Westwood Manor claimed me, now it's claimed you. To be free, another must dance." Realization dawned upon her. The only way to regain her soul was to lure another into the manor's trap. She knew it was wrong, but the whispers grew louder, insisting, demanding. Days turned into weeks, then months. Eventually, a young man, hearing of the treasures within Westwood Manor, decided to explore it. As he descended into the basement, the haunting melody began to play, and Eliza, with her hollow eyes and eerie grace, led him into the cursed dance. As dawn broke, the man's energies was drained, his eyes turned hollow. And Eliza, her soul restored, she left the man, vowing never to return. Deep down she knew the cycle would continue. Westwood Manor would always thirst for souls. The thought that lingers, how many of us, in moments of desperation, might succumb to darkness, and how many haunted places in the world are perfect traps set by those who were once trapped themselves. The Whispering Walls. Mary relocated to the countryside after inheriting her grandmother's old Victorian mansion. The house had been in the family for generations, and although Mary had never spent much time there, she remembered her grandmother's tales of the intricate murals hidden beneath layers of old wallpaper. On the first night, the howling winds outside couldn't drown out eerie, soft whispering from the walls. At first, Mary thought it was her imagination playing tricks, but every night she heard it, an incoherent, low murmur, as if voices were trapped inside the walls, trying to convey a message. She decided to peel off the layers of old wallpaper, hoping to uncover the storied murals. But as each layer came off, the whispering grew louder and more urgent. Days turned into weeks, and the massive home slowly revealed beautiful murals depicting the daily life of a bygone era. One mural caught her attention. It showcased a grand ball with men and women in lavish attires, but what was unsettling was the depiction of a tall man. in a dark cloak and hat, standing apart from the crowd, his face obscured, seemingly watching everyone. The whispers now, distinct voices. Laughter, arguments, a soft lullaby, and a desperate plea. Mary could hear a woman's voice distinctly, beware the man in the dark cloak. The more she listened, the more the voices pulled her in. Driven by curiosity and concern, she began researching her family's history. She discovered a dark chapter about her great-great-grandfather, George. He had been obsessed with achieving immortality and was rumored to have dabbled in dark arts. Local folklore spoke of a cloaked stranger who attended the mansion's grand ball over a century ago, and of guests who vanished that very night. One evening, as Mary was engrossed in her research, she felt a cold draft. Turning around, she saw the tall figure from the mural, the man in the dark cloak, standing in her living room. Paralyzed with fear, she watched as he removed his hat, revealing a face she recognized from old family portraits. It was George. He spoke, his voice echoing the whispers from the walls. The murals are not mere paintings. They are a prison created by me, using the dark arts to trap the souls of those who defied me. And now you have set them free. But why? Mary stammered. For immortality, he replied. Their souls gave me life beyond death, but now they are free, and I must replenish or fade into oblivion. Mary's heart raced. She had unwittingly released vengeful spirits. What do you want from me? Your soul is not what I seek, George whispered, stepping closer. I want you to restore it to her prison. Mary realized that the house, the murals, and the trapped souls kept George alive, and now he needed her to trap more souls to sustain his immortality. Months passed, and under George's watchful eyes, Mary learned dark arts she never believed existed. She held grand parties, luring unsuspecting guests, and one by one, their souls were imprisoned in new murals she painted. The whispers in the walls grew louder and more numerous. But Mary had a plan. Using her newfound knowledge, she crafted a spell not to trap more souls, but to release all of them, including George's, hoping it would end the nightmare. The night of the final ritual. As the sky turned dark and thunder roared, Mary began chanting verses she had written, beseeching the trapped souls for help. The house shook violently, and a blinding light filled the room. When it subsided, the murals were blank, the voices silenced, and George was gone. Exhausted, Mary collapsed, thinking it was over. The next morning, Mary noticed a new mural on the wall. It depicted the very room she stood in, and in the mural's corner was a familiar face. Her face, forever trapped in the painted world. She had erased all the souls, including George's, but at the cost of her own freedom. Years later, the mansion was once again sold. The new owners marveled at the stunning murals, especially one depicting a beautiful woman, her eyes filled with desperation and a plea, as if trying to communicate from beyond the canvas. And on some nights, if you listened closely, you'd hear a faint whisper from the walls, beware the man in the dark cloak. One might ponder, do walls truly witness everything? How many souls have been trapped in murals around the world, and what would it take to set them free?